Hi, beautiful people. What's crack-a-lackin'? It's your girl Tamara on Tammy Talks, and you're welcome to episode 8, Story Time, Story. I'm sure you guys will find this really educative, interesting, hilarious, name it. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I was complaining and somebody told me this story. It made a lot of sense to me, and I thought I'd share with you all. I think you guys will find it really interesting. I decided to preserve the story for my listeners. So if you're new here, you're welcome to have a feel. If you're an old listener, you know how we do it. Let's get right into it so that the story is not so long. A long time ago, there was a man who was a farmer and he was always complaining. He was such an angry man, and we call such people angry birds. He was always upset. He was always blaming everyone around him for all the problems he was passing through. He was one of those people who would actually blame his wife and say ever since he married her, things have been so hard and all those kind of things. He used to blame his children for finishing all the food in the house. The man was just an upset, angry, and frustrated man. And every day he goes to the farm, he would always complain. He would always, be resentful. He would always fight with his wife. God so kind, he married a wife who was very supportive and understanding. So she just used to ignore all those his tantrums. One day, while he was at the farm, he was tired and decided to take a nap. He dropped his farming tools and looked for somewhere safe, at least so that wild animals would not get at him, and took a nap. While he was sleeping, he was hearing noise in the background, but he just refused to wake up. All of a sudden, he woke up and saw himself lying down in a different place from where he was sleeping initially, and he was wondering what's going on here. He stood up, and as he stood up, he wiped his eyes to be sure of what he was seeing and to be sure he wasn't dreaming. All of a sudden, a group of men started pointing at him hysterically. They were actually confused as well when they saw him. And then there were some other people who were so excited to see him. In fact, they jumped at him. Our king, you are welcome. We have been looking for you. You are very welcome. They were so excited. So they held him. They took him to his palace. Of course, now the man, as a sharp man, he decided to take the title of the king. He had been suffering so much and he wanted to, taste the life of a king. When he got to the palace, he was still looking confused. And then those subjects were like, king, you're welcome now. Don't you recognize me? He was now for me. Yes, I know you. You're welcome. King, where have you been? Look at how you are looking. He said, he was kidnapped. That was how they arranged, bath, feast, everything nice for him. And then they showed him all his 7 wives. The man was so happy. He was finally living his dream. He was, in charge of everything. He was in charge of lands, gold, money. He had access to everything. However, when he came back from his return as the supposed king, his chiefs told him, King, please, you can have access to everywhere in this palace except one room. Please never go into it. Nobody has ever entered into it from the days of our forefathers. In case you have forgotten, please don't go into that room. The king was like, no problem now. As far as I have money, I have this, I have that. What's the big deal? I'm okay. But as he was getting more powerful, several people from different lands came to come and, show him appreciation, giving him different things. He started getting curious and was like, what could really be inside that room? Is it that there's more gold or there's more diamond, there's more money? Or what exactly could be in that room? Why will I be a king and I'll not have access to just one room? What kind of rubbish chiefs are these? So one day he was drinking and he called one of his wives. She was like his third wife. And he started gisting with her and he said, I want to enter into that room. I want to really know what it is. Why these chiefs will not allow me enter into that room? His wife was like, King, please, nobody has ever entered into that room. Don't enter into that room, He said, why not? She begged him. She was like, King, please, I don't know why, but let's just obey. He said, no, they can't tell me what to do. I am the king. That one passed. He still had this thought in his mind. It was troubling him. He was just too curious. He decided to discuss with his last wife. His seventh wife was like, King, I don't think it's necessary you enter into that room because they warned us never to enter into it. You have access to everything. So what could you possibly want to see in that room? Is it gold? Is it diamond? You have access to everything. So this one you are, insisting on entering that room is obviously greed. In fact, he got really upset. He nearly divorced her. But he could not tell people why he wanted to divorce her. He was still pondering and pondering and pondering. Finally, one evening, he was relaxing in his palace and he had his two wives, maybe the first and the sixth wife by his side. And then he was discussing with them that he has been meaning to enter into that room. He wants to know what is inside. They were saying, King, don't go there. They warned us never to go there. He said, why would they tell me not to go there? By then, he was already drunk. He now decided that he was going to go. They were begging him, dragging him. He was pushing them. Leave me alone. I must enter into that room. I need to know what is inside. What are they hiding from me? What if it's a human head? He was saying all sorts. Curiosity finally killed the cat. As soon as he opened the door, there was a magnet that just drew him into the door and drew him into the room and then closed the door. When he entered into the room, he saw himself sleeping in that same spot that he was initially sleeping years ago. He was like, what is going on here? He saw himself living the kingly clothes. I'm sorry for laughing this hard. He saw himself living the kingly clothes, He was fading away from the kingly clothes and was now transitioning into that wretched farmer that was lying down. He was saying, please, let me come out. It was too late. He finally went back into his real body and saw himself in the farm. He started crying. He said, okay, let him sleep back to go back to the palace. The sleep never came. He tried for like 5 days. He never came. He didn't go home for a whole 5 days because he wanted to go back to enjoy the luxury he was enjoying. It never came back. Of course, he was, blaming himself this time around for complaining, for being too curious, for wanting to know more than he should. He was not just happy, he was blaming himself this time around. He wasn't blaming anybody. And he finally got home. He saw his wife. His wife was so excited to see him because they had not seen him for like a year or two. They were happy. They welcomed him. She cooked a special meal for him, But he could not tell them what had happened because he just knew that if he told them, they would blame him as well. He just lived a life of regrets and was like, I wish I just stayed put. I wish I did not try. Basically, that was the end of the story. I want to hear your thoughts on what had happened. For me, I felt curiosity actually is something that people have in them. So it's like when they say you arced my curiosity. It's something that people cannot explain. People just like, will I say busybody? Or will I say just wanting to know, Sha? Sometimes what you don't know will not kill you, okay? So that's the end of my story, really. What did you learn from it? I was laughing when he told me this story. I was just laughing because I'm like, I shall know he wanted to stop complaining, I know that was the reason why he told me this story, but what do you have to say about it? I'd like to see your comments in the comment section. What do you think the man should have done differently? What do you think he should have, done that would have made his life better? Do you think he should have listened to them by not entering the secret room? Share your thoughts. Thank you for listening. And you're welcome. I love you guys. Bye.